Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Drop Your Noise. Okay, so this is a little bit of my noise. I've been late posting podcasts. My apologies. But hey, we're back. We're in rhythm. We've got this. I want to introduce to you this week's guest. I don't know if you've heard her before, but Annie was on our show back in February talking about visibility and LinkedIn. In this week's episode, I wanted to talk about from a female's perspective, and especially in the times that we find ourselves in with AI, there's a lot of concerns about putting our own views out there. But are we leaving some opportunities off the table? Are we missing out on them because we're outsourcing it to AI and worried about are we playing it safe? It's been something that's been on my mind. And while I was listening to this week's episode, I was again reflecting back on my own posts and how I could do things differently, maybe structure my sentences differently. I see a lot of LinkedIn posts now, and when they're AI driven, I just go past them. I wonder if you do that too. And so, finding your own voice and the importance of it, how can that help us going forward? And Annie does such a wonderful insight into how we could actually achieve this just by like these one, two, three tips and techniques, but also why it's important to have that. I look forward to sharing this with you and be sure to let me know at the end what your thoughts are around it. By the way, I'm going to be launching a new product, and if you want to find out how this can support you in finding your perspective or changing the way you want to show up or express yourself, be sure you're following my Substack, and the link is always down below. Enjoy this week's episode. Quite often, I don't know if you feel that way. I feel like women miss out on this opportunity
Yeah,
of not putting their opinions or their thought leadership out there. I mean, you've given me three examples, and it just so happens to be all male.
I know. I was thinking about that. And I when I do my workshops, I always put women in. Like I feel really strongly about that. But
Mm.
yeah, you hit on one of my favorite topics, which
Which
is
tell me,
yeah. So maybe I can talk a little bit about like how I got into thought leadership, going from like social. Maybe it
please.
would help to
Yes.
sort of because basically what happened was I moved to Dubai and then I worked a little bit in PR and then I got this opportunity to work at Ogilvy, which is like one of the best agencies in the world. And
Hmm.
that happened right when they were setting up social media. So I basically helped them set up. There were two of us and we set up like the social practice.
Here
Um
in Dubai.
yeah, for Ogilvy. Yeah. So I got to go to like global trainings. It was just like being in the right place at the right time and looking back I'm like holy, that was like pretty amazing. But at the time,
I
it's
know.
yeah. So um that was a lot of like consumer social, like, but everyone was sort of figuring out what to do. Like I remember the first time I got a deck or PowerPoint and it was like influencers. I'm like, what the hell are influencers? And it was just a term that somebody came up with. Like it's pretty crazy. Um and so we did a lot of like our clients were like, Fanta, Sprite, Dove, which was actually pretty cool. They did really cool things early on.
Yeah, they do.
Um, but I kind of realized I didn't really. I think the issue with me and advertising was that I'm not really a consumer. Like I wasn't really raised to be a consumer, and I don't really have those values. Um, and I'm not really interested in brands. I'm like consumer
Okay.
brands. It just doesn't really interest me. So I
Mm.
sort of, and I have a writing background, so I sort of started drifting more toward like we had IBM as a client and SAP, and I was like, this is really interesting. Like they're trying to solve problems, and you learn more about different industries, um, and then LinkedIn was kind of getting more traction at that time, and people were like, "Hey, can you do our LinkedIn?" And I was like, "That's really cool." Um, and it was kind of new, you know? I mean, people
Mhm.
had been managing sort of people's Instagrams and Facebooks for a long time, but not really like their LinkedIn. And then I guess this sort of, um, that was sort of like going on in the background. And then I had, I was running an agency with a business partner for a while, and I just was, I guess by that time the market had become really saturated with consumer social. So I was like, why don't we go for corporate clients where,
Yeah.
I have a writing background. We can hire people that are good at writing. We hired a lot of like journalism graduates,
Oh,
and we could
wow. Okay.
kind of like help them with their company's thought leadership. So we started doing that more, and that just lends itself to LinkedIn. And then after
Mhm.
COVID and everything, I was like, I just want to do this on my own. I think that it would be like intellectually satisfying. I think there's a need in the market now. Like, I'll try it and see what happens. So that's how I ended up doing what I'm doing. Um, and then it sort of opened up this whole world, and I had been thinking, I mean, I've always been really interested in like, I don't even know the right term to talk about it now, like feminism, gender. I did gender studies at university and stuff, and that's always been like female representation's always been
Sure.
really, yeah,
Yeah.
interesting to me. And like also seeing the world through that lens, you are kind of like always dissatisfied.
Mm.
So I when I started doing this for full time and like teaching people about it, and people started coming to me and being like, hey, I really need help with this, I realized that like women have a lot more issues with it, which is kind of obvious because we're not really taught to be loud. We're not really taught to be out there. I
Mhm.
mean, um, women have
Yeah.
a really hard time. Like, we're judged way more harshly. And um, also, confidence wise, we're pretty much like raised in an environment where, like, if you are a confident woman, you're really, really the minority. Like, everything's kind of designed to make you not have confidence. It's like either about how you look or like what your voice sounds like. Like, how many times do you hear people complaining about what a woman's voice sounds like? I've never heard people say that about men once. Like, oh, she's whiny, or so all these sort of forces are working against us. Let's just call it what it is, patriarchy. And this is one area where you can really, really, really break through that, but it's super hard for women to put themselves out there. And part of what I want to do, and like I really enjoy working with my female clients, is because once they sort of get over that confidence hump of
Mhm.
being like, and it does help having someone hold your hand, even for men. I have a lot of male clients who are like amazing as well. And they also are like, I need someone to hold my hand and kind of sense check this. There's a lot of fear. It's about fear. It's about what will people think? What could this do to my reputation, especially the more senior you get? I
Absolutely.
mean, if you're doing this for a CEO, you could affect stock prices at certain
Yeah.
levels. It gets into like
Yeah.
really serious territory fast. Um, and people are really afraid of backlash, and they're afraid of things. And I think the fear, you hear more about the fear than the benefits. But like, I told you that example of that one client I have who I'm super proud of. I do some coaching as well as the
Mhm.
ghostwriting. And I think 20,000 people were laid off at her global consultancy this year, and she got promoted. And a lot of that came down to just being more visible on LinkedIn.
But it
And
wasn't just visibility though. I mean, it was visibility of thought leadership. That I mean,
yeah,
there's
exactly.
visibility and then there's visibility as far as
Yeah,
I can
yeah,
see.
true. And I think that's one area where you can kind of get around the AI slop, is to actually have a strategy, which I always start with clients, is like, we do a deep dive workshop. We look at like, where do you want to go? Like, if you're working somewhere, where do you want to be in like 5 years? And who do you need to connect with to get you there? And
Yeah.
what are they interested in reading? And like, what special expertise do you have? A lot of people don't even know how to articulate it. It's super hard to do
Absolutely.
this for yourself.
Yeah.
It's really, really hard to be self-reflective. And like, I've even had really worked with like really senior people who have sort of learned a lot about them in the process, about themselves in the
Mhm.
process. Um, so it's kind of like, it can be very humbling and vulnerable. And I think vulnerability is another one of those words that kind of gets tossed around. But,
How do you define it?
well, it's more about like how important I think it is, because I think this is
Mhm.
another thing that AI doesn't really encourage you to be. And you can kind of hide behind an AI generated piece of writing where you don't really have to say, um, you don't really have to like uncover the parts of yourself that are vulnerable. But vulnerability is really what makes people connect with you. Um,
That's why I'm asking, what is your definition of vulnerability?
yeah,
Because
yeah,
I understand where you're coming from about the importance of it and how we hide behind AI.
yeah,
Simple, I'll give you a simple example. I didn't realize I was doing that, right?
mm,
I have a chip on my shoulder about English. So
okay,
because
yeah,
I in my head I'm like, my English is not good enough. What do I need? Okay, I go to
yeah,
AI and it'll give me the polished, polished, the word that they love to use,
yeah.
polished version. And the one thing I notice right away is that my personal story gets pushed to the side.
That's really
It gets
interesting.
it gets this it really gets lowered down
Yeah,
in the AI writing, right?
mhm,
And then I'm like, oh, so I prompted, I'll
yeah.
explain it and everything. Again, it'll diminish it. So,
Oh,
what is the
interesting.
definition? Because there's vulnerability, the person who cries, and then you're not going to take that serious. I
Yeah,
mean, in LinkedIn, I don't see that getting taken seriously. Maybe
right.
that's perception, but there's also vulnerability. So, for you,
Yeah,
in terms of thought leadership, what is that?
I think that I think it's the same as it is outside of thought leadership. It's about showing weakness, perceived weakness. But that's where it sort of comes in, is that it is a strength as well. Like, have you ever been somewhere and people are being like really formal, and like someone says something, and I think you're good at this because you can be like very kind of direct, but everyone's thinking the same thing, like, oh,
I
what do you,
know, but I get awkward faces.
yeah, I know, but everybody's relieved when you ask the question if there's no clarity. It's like, that's being vulnerable. It's being like being sort of strong enough to be like, I didn't get that, and I'm not afraid to say it. And I know that some people might think it's stupid if I ask the question, but I bet they're thinking the same thing. And it's sort of like being, um not being afraid of showing that like maybe you don't know something, which people could say was a weakness. And I think the best thought leadership and the best sort of, um yeah, thought leadership, or the best stories that we connect with, are when people are like, I didn't know this. And everyone's like, oh, I thought they would have known that. And then they talk about how they learned something. Maybe that's not a good example, but um,
Well, I think it's a good example. You tell me I'm good at it, but I actually, in that moment when I asked that questions, I know one thing: people's faces are going to be like, "You should know this," but then I'm like, if I don't get it, I am asking because, like you said, I'll often hear afterwards, "Yeah, I agree with you," and I'm like, "Why did you not ask
why
something?
didn't you say
Why
something? Yeah,
didn't you say something?"
yeah,
Because I feel like the idiot who's like, all right, I gotta ask this question. But
yeah,
for me, it's because I need to understand things in my head. If you're gonna throw jargon at me,
yeah. Then
likelihood
yeah,
I'm not gonna remember you because I don't get it.
yeah, you don't get it. Yeah, yeah, and I think being more visible is incredibly vulnerable, because you do sort of put yourself out there to other people's judgments. But what I argue is that by doing that, you actually also connect with people you never ever would have thought you connect with, and you help people learn more. And I have people when I go to events. I mean, it's Dubai, it's small. When I go to events, people come up to me and they're like, "Oh, I saw you on LinkedIn. Like, I know you
Yeah.
from LinkedIn." And I'm like, "Yeah, but you've never liked anything. Like, you don't even know who's out there and who you can connect with." So I think if you can push yourself past that vulnerability, and if it helps, hire someone like me who can help you do it. Um, like, the rewards are crazy because no one does it. Like, no one, like, people are maybe dabbling in it, but only 1% of people on LinkedIn actually post. Everyone else is just lurking and kind of wishing they were doing it. And if you
Say
actually
it
do it,
again,
yeah,
1%?
only 1% of people are like actively posting content. It might be a bit more now with AI, but seriously, there's so many pain points. Like, even if you know, like, I know how to post, sometimes I don't even post as much as I should because I don't have time, which is ironic because I help people who don't have time do it. But it's like that carpenter's shoes thing, like the carpenter always has like bad shoes because he or she doesn't spend time doing their own shoes.
I think you're sitting in my head this morning, Annie, because this morning I was thinking two things. First of all, so I post the podcast, right? And I'm wondering, but then I feel like if I had to post every day on LinkedIn, to me, it's a little bit too much. Personally, it's a bit much. And then you'll hear some of these LinkedIn gurus saying you should be posting every day. And I'm
Yeah,
just thinking, how do I post every day without feeling? Because I don't like to be in a person's face. I
yeah,
want somebody to say, she's the person you want to connect with. I like that. For me, that's what I like. I like because
yeah,
the referral makes you be taken seriously, right? But
yeah,
then I'm like, but then I'm posting only of the podcast and not of my stuff. Like
yeah,
I have my own podcast episodes, and you won't see it on LinkedIn. I'm like, why am I not doing that?
yeah. Why aren't you?
Yeah, I'm like, why am I not doing that? And so when you're saying just now about, you wish you post more, or
Yeah,
because you're too busy, I keep wondering, is that because we're busy, or is that because
yeah. So that's what I wanted to say. Actually, you're not going to be in a person's face because actually only like maximum 30% of people, if that, are going to see your post. So like you could post the same thing every day for a week and like maybe some people would see it twice, but most people won't. So like if anything, we should all be posting more. And we shouldn't be afraid of being like, that's why I try to help my clients with, because they can get like really precious about things. And I've been doing this for so long. I'm like, just put it up there. Like, I get the vulnerability, but at the same time, it's like, stop overthinking it. Just slap it up there. Not everyone's going to see it. And you know what? Of those people that see it, no one's going to judge you.
I feel like you're talking to me, you know that, right?
Yeah. And
I'm
it's like,
like, am I being precious? But what does precious mean first?
precious means like being like, well, in that photo, I was wearing eyeshadow that was like really dark, and like I really prefer to wear light. So let's like go back and edit it on Photoshop. It's like, no,
Yeah, no, I'm not that. I'm not that
yeah, I know
precious.
that's not you, but like that's the kind of level, yeah, or like, or being
But
sort of,
I am precious, but I'm precious that I think sometimes I post as childish. I'll let it out. I'll confess.
oh, I would never think that about your post, but like, yeah, and I think the amount of like, even if someone sees your post, the chance that they're actually like, I have clients who are being like, maybe we should end the post like this, or maybe we should end it like this. Like, no one's gonna read the end of your post. Maybe one person is gonna read to the end if you're
No
lucky.
one's going to read the end of your post.
If your writing's good and you're saying something super interesting, people are gonna read to the end. But the majority of them aren't. Like, you're really not gonna get that many people reading your whole post. That's why you have to publish more, because it's like, yeah, we want every post to be good, but we also need to be realistic about like how much time we can spend crafting these perfect posts versus like how much we just got to like get the frequency up so that the chance of somebody seeing something and taking it in, like, you have to. I have like friends who still don't know what I do. They don't understand what I do. And I'm like,
Really?
I've told you like 5 million times. I publish about it on LinkedIn. You're on LinkedIn. Like, it's very rare that someone will actually read your content and completely understand you. You have to tell them, you have to tell them again, you have to tell them again. And this is where like PR comes in. In if you've ever seen, like, say there was an incident and you see a spokesperson from the company, they're saying the exact same thing over. It's called key messaging, saying it over and over and over again because you have to get those messages across. And then like that's part of the art and strategy of this stuff is like, what are your key messages? What are you wanting to tell people? We have to talk about that in almost every single post. It's all about repetition, but you have to make it interesting and you have to do it in a different way. But if you start to analyze what like people who are really good at this stuff do, they're kind of hitting the same points again and again, just in a different way.
Yeah, and I feel like, listening to you, I'm like, I have such a new appreciation for language and writing,
Mm.
just by listening to you, because I'm
Oh,
like, I was thinking about ballet. You do the same stuff, you do the same exercises over and over again,
yeah.
but it's like a symphony. It never looks the same. It's just done in a different way, but it's still the same.
Yeah.
It's kind of
Yeah.
like that. That's what I just got
Yeah.
up to you messaging. It's a very weird metaphor, but or
I was like, that's very
analogy.
highbrow of you, but I like it. I
I
go
need
to
to
the
do
symphony.
that. You're the only person I let get away with making fun of me, but I love it. But
Yeah.
seriously, no, I mean, you fascinated me just by the stats. I mean, 1%, 3%. It makes me understand also, because I don't like to write long posts. As soon as my posts get really long, I'm like, I'm fatigued in my head. Like, what am I trying to get across now? Am I in jargon land?
Yeah.
But two, I think people are time poor,
Yeah. People are
and I
trying.
want them to get to the bottom. But I didn't
Yeah.
realize that's just 1% I'm asking to get to the bottom.
Well, 1% of people post, but yeah, not very many people will actually read through the bottom. And maybe it's because, like, I like with this type of work, which is boring, you have to do a lot of reporting. So, like, you kind of realize what people read and don't read. You, even for videos, like, people rarely will watch a whole video. Usually they'll watch, like, I don't know what the stats are, like maybe 2 seconds.
I think it's come down to
When people
two, 3 seconds
say,
now.
like, it's the attention economy, it really is the attention economy. Like, and that's why I think it's so important to find your voice and, like, do things in an original way. Um, and like that could be as simple as what I teach in my workshops. I'm like, just have a good hook at the beginning of your post. Just have don't let AI write your hooks. A hook is like,
What is a good hook? What would you
yeah,
consider a
like a
good
good hook
hook?
would be like, well, personally, I like to use humor. I think humor is one of the most
Your
important.
A said that. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of like been a thread through my whole life. Like, I mean, I grew up in a family with there were 4 kids. Like, the only
Hmm.
thing you're gonna get paid attention to is, like, if you're funny, you know? Like, it's really,
True.
yeah, it's kind of sad,
I
but
do the same.
yeah, that's why most funny people, like, are from big families or, like, kind of had to fight to get attention. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's about, like, either saying something funny or, like, something that if you look at what you're writing, it's like, what is the most interesting thing in what I've written? And sometimes it's like a crazy stat. Like, if I use a stat, like only 1% of people post on LinkedIn, be like, oh, whoa, I need to read that again. Did I read that right?
Yeah,
Uh,
I would definitely click on that. I
yeah,
would.
like in my workshops, I give a lot of examples. Stay through to the end, it'll give you a discount code. No, just kidding. But um,
That webinar you don't want to attend anymore.
yeah, stats, questions are good, like questions that make the person like sort of reflect. Like, I also think pain points. I don't know if you know what a pain point is, but
Yeah.
it's like, something that is a challenge for most people. So, like, if you know what your audience's pain points are, those are good to use at the beginning. So you can be like, for me, I could be like, are you sick of, like, watching people get promoted that aren't as smart as you? It's because nobody knows you're smart because you're not telling them. Honestly, that's all it is. And a lot of this stuff is just, like, really because humans are stupid. We're just
Uh,
stupid. It's
are
like
we?
somebody said, we are in a way of, like, in the way that we interact socially. Like, I do, if you kind of like, I do often get sucked into, like, hearing anthropologists talk about, like, baboons, like, I don't think we've evolved so much from, like, being like, oh, shiny, pretty, I want, like, we have very basic drives. And
Hmm.
Someone actually really, really summed it up well. She was talking, my friend was talking about, it's actually a really great, smart journalist who doesn't post on LinkedIn. And I said, it's really as simple as just like getting in front of people and being that person. And she's like, you're right. It's like the person who posts the most appears to be the smartest. And it's true. It's like
It's
that.
true.
And they're like, I
Very
feel
true.
like so much of like, also, I always think of like writers, or you can think of people that have become commercially successful. There's
Mhm.
probably like 5 to 10 to hundreds of people behind them that are just as talented, but nobody knew about them because they didn't do any marketing. Like, even this happens a lot with musicians. Like, there'll
Mhm.
be someone else in the band that's super talented or like that helped them get there, but they're just not as marketable, or they didn't buy into the commercial success. And that's what happens a lot also with, I call them the purists. They're like, I don't really think that like I don't really like having a personal brand. I don't really believe in it. And it's like, yeah, like that's a really nice luxury to have, but like, hey, when there's job cuts coming at your company, you want
Right, to
people to
have
know
that.
who you are. And actually, there's another point I wanted to make is like, a lot of people are getting laid off right now. I don't want to be a fear monger, but a lot of people are getting laid off right now in Dubai.
That's a reality. In
It's
Dubai as well?
yeah, in Dubai. A lot of people are coming into this market. It's really hard to get a job right now in Dubai.
Yeah, I did hear about that.
Yeah, it's super hard to get a job, which posting on LinkedIn can help, because if you're applying for jobs on LinkedIn and a recruiter goes and sees that you're someone who's proactive and like posting and knows about your industry, that's a plus. But also,
But I
uh,
also heard something else that's a little bit I just read an article about it, which is in LinkedIn. A lot of jobs that are being posted right now are just being posted to post because those jobs have been already been taken, but they're
yeah,
just
yeah, that happens too. It's really
yeah,
hard. It's super hard to, and I think a lot of people, which surprised me, and I didn't really think of this side of LinkedIn when I started this, because I'm not an HR person. I always tell people, I'm like, I'm not an HR person. I'm more of a marketing communications person. But there is, crossover, because obviously you're like marketing a person and it's in a sort of job world.
Mhm.
That's not really my core area, but people do come to me because my ideal clients are like a CEO of like a, I don't know, like an organization that wants to
Organization, yeah.
communicate about the company.
Yeah.
A lot of people come to me and they're like, yeah, so I just lost my job. And I'm like, okay. And they're like, I never used LinkedIn. I didn't think I needed it. And then they're like doing it kind of from
And that takes
behind.
time to build.
And these are really smart senior people. These are people that are like really on it
Yeah.
and it's not even about like, I need to start posting so a recruiter will see it. It's also about like your network and just making sure that you always have a network. Like, I think as AI becomes bigger and we move into this thing where we sit behind our screens a lot more than we even do now,
Yeah.
having a network is so important. And I actually really
Mhm.
underestimated that. Luckily for me, because I like people, I've always kind of like been able to have a good network, and I've lived here for a long time, and most of my work comes from my network. LinkedIn is a great place to like make sure you nurture your network and like make sure that you are meeting people online and asking them for coffees before you need it. Like, your network is basically insurance, and it's like it's the
Yeah.
first thing you let go when you get busy in a job or you get busy with your business. It's like,
And
oh,
it's the first, yeah, it's the first place you definitely go to. I noticed as you're speaking, I used to say this years ago and I still stay by it. I'm like, for me, LinkedIn, I always saw it as my portfolio. It wasn't about the likes. It wasn't about,
oh,
it's about, you and I will, let's say we met over here. Dubai does this amazing all the
yeah,
time. It's like, let's connect on LinkedIn. And I'm like, but I don't know if I want you to, I'll be very honest. I don't know if I want you to be a follower or to be connected with you, because there's a difference between the two.
oh, okay,
Because um I value my network, I value the connections I make and the conversations I have with the network. I just don't want you to be on there to be on there. I had a lot of life coaches wanting to be up there, but really what they want to do is get access to my network to
Mm,
grow their network. But
right.
I don't know you that well. For me, reputation plays a big role. So what happens in Dubai, everybody's like, come on, um, let's meet on LinkedIn. Next thing you know, the next day, I know they're looking and diving into my LinkedIn profile. So I know one thing for sure. My LinkedIn is a portfolio. It's an
Yeah.
expression of thought leadership of who I am and what I
Yeah.
do. So
Yeah.
completely agree with you, because that then takes it to the next stage, which is let's get connected. Let's have a conversation. Let's move the conversation offline.
Yeah.
And I don't think we are very good conversationalists online, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. It's time consuming. I mean, part of what I do in like like when you get really strategic about this kind of work is like you can actually put a strategy behind making sure that you are having conversations with the right people.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. And then it's kind of like weird, but I mean, that's sales, right? And we're all into sales. If we're running a business, even if we have a job and we're not in sales, we're into sales. We got to sell ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sales is
Um,
just like getting in front of people and explaining what you do and how you can help them. I used to think like, oh, it's sales. I'm not a salesperson. I need to take a sales course. And then I was like, actually, I just need to get in front of people and be like, hey, this is what I do. Like, I saw that like maybe you could use my help, or it's getting in front of people, which I've only learned to do this year, and which I push myself to do, and being like, I need your help. Can you introduce me to this person?
yeah, I'm on that phase right now in Dubai,
Yeah.
because when I got here, I was like, well, how am I going to do this? So it took me a while. I had to understand how the culture works as well, because
Yeah. And I
it's a
think that's
different way
another
of relationships.
yeah, women are really bad at. I think that's how this conversation came up because I made a comment
You did a
on a
fabulous post about
post
it.
and I said women need to have a course in how to ask for what they want.
Yeah.
And this is something that is ingrained in men. I've lived here for 15 years. I know like and I'm not saying this to brag. I'm saying this cuz like I under leverage it probably more than anybody else. I know so many people here and I rarely go to them and ask for stuff because until recently I felt really uncomfortable doing that. And that's like a self-esteem thing. It's probably a conditioning thing. It's a not wanting to look needy. It's a not wanting to look vulnerable. But that's how business gets done. That's how
For
men
me,
do
yeah.
business.
I'm a lot like you in that sense. For me, it's about I don't like to take advantage of the friendships I've made. I don't want them to feel like I'm using them, and that always. So I'm always like thinking 20 times before I'm like, actually, hey, I do need support, dear. Do
Yeah.
you have someone? Can you introduce me? And I'm having to. And you're right. There should be a workshop about it, because I've been really testing my strength about how else can I say this? Is there
Mm.
a way I can say it where it feels really true to myself, but also valued for them as well?
I personally help a lot of people, um, not with necessarily like with introductions, for example. Like I do that quite a bit. Then I'm like,
Mhm.
why don't I just ask people to do the same thing? Like it's a
Yeah.
weird disconnect. But yeah, that's one thing that's really um, changed because if you set yourself up to have a good network on LinkedIn, it's all about leveraging that. And I think that's a piece that people miss. It's like you have the network, leverage it. And it doesn't have to be like a slimy way, like you were saying, like you can do it in a good way. And also, I
No,
don't
you
think women sit
absolutely.
around thinking about like, about this. I think they just do it. And like, I think more women just need to do that as well. I've had men like ask me, mostly men ask me for like really inappropriate, not inappropriate sexually, but things that I'm like, why would I introduce you to that person? I met you 5 minutes ago. But I'm also kind of like,
Mm.
good for you for asking. And in Dubai, it's like if you can in Dubai to get ahead, and I've done a lot of sales here, you kind of have to. It sounds cheesy. I think this is because I lived in a part of Canada that wasn't great economically when I
Mm.
graduated from university. So I really had to hustle to and I had my own business before I moved here. So I kind of like you really have to know how to hustle. And hustling isn't really, it's not about like, it's more about quality over quantity. And by hustling, I mean, I think being extra thoughtful. Like I've hired, when I had my business, I hired a lot of people, and rarely would anyone email after the interview, which I found really shocking. That's like pretty basic. And like, I think one time someone sent a card and I was like, yeah, just do something a little bit extra that nobody else is doing. Like send a card. Hell, like send some flowers. Like there was an example someone gave at one of my clients' office, and someone found their name on LinkedIn, came to the office with a mug with their CV on it, and the person was like, perfect, and uses the mug every day, and obviously looked at the CV. So find ways to sort of stand out.
I think it really sums it up well. It's like your voice is also about leaving that one thing extra that is only yours. So that gift is also a representation of your voice.
Yeah, and it can be kind of beautiful too. It's like we're all really unique, and I think we don't all have to be the same, even though that's kind of like what social media in it, like its trashiest sense, wants us to be. Like we're all super unique, and the people that are unique are the ones that you remember.
Okay, there you have it. Have you sat back like me and reflected on how your digital footprint is online and the importance of your voice? What is the one thing you can take away with from this conversation and apply it and see how it works for you? I look forward to sharing much more about this, and I'll be diving in deeper in my Substack. If you haven't followed yet, that's a great place to start. And I hope you really enjoyed this week's episode. Hey, have a good one. Till the next one. And yes, I am going to get better at being consistent and sharing more episodes out there for you. Take care. Have a good one. Till the next one.